A very good afternoon and welcome all the participants to today's live session on e-invoicing. As per the webinar, one of the GSTN member announced that the e-invoicing dates are not going to extend. So here we are, just 2 days away from e-invoicing becoming to a reality. So for that, our team thought of keeping a webinar of making you e-invoicing ready and what Webtel as a technological partner can deliver you in this whole journey of being invoicing ready. Before we begin with the webinar, I would like to request all the participants who have joined us through Zoom panel to kindly turn off their videos for a better bandwidth. Participants who have joined us through YouTube can comment through the live chat section. We'll be taking all your queries, and those participants who have joined us through Zoom, they can comment in the chat section. We'll be taking all your queries in today's session. As you all know, Webtel is a 2-decade-old company. We have products ranging from compliance solutions such as TDS, tax, Goldmine, XBRL, to professional products like work at home, web edge, virtual office, or website for professionals, to premium solutions such as GST, ASP, GSP, integrated end-to-end solution, including e-way bill and e-invoice generation, HR Pearl software, and many more. Webtel's e-invoicing solution is one of the most premium solution, the most secure solution, as Webtel is the leading ASP GSP provider. Our team ensures the fastest implementation of e-invoicing through any mode possible. So we have more than 5 modes available depending upon your ERP or your requirements. And the most important part is that our solution is priced reasonably. So it's under your budget. It is something that we ask is quite competitive and quite reasonable. Also, I feel glad to announce that we are also listed in GEM. So we have also delivering this solution to many PSUs. So PSQs can also find us on GEM. Brief features about our e-invoicing solution. Overall, Webtel is a one-stop solution for all your e-invoicing needs. Without wasting much of time, now I would like to introduce CA Rajeev Khandelwal ji, who will be taking today's session and telling us how to stay ready, how to choose Webtel as your partner in the e-invoicing journey. Sir has an experience of more than 25 years and has deliberated in more than 300 seminars and webinars across country, across topics in GST, income tax. He is a renowned faculty and author of many books. So without wasting much of time, over to Rajeev sir. Welcome, sir. Rajeev sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, Shubham, I can hear you. Thank you. I'll just share my screen first.
Sure, sir. Until sir start sharing his screen, I want to ask a small question. How many of the participants think that the invoicing days was supposed to increase If you think yes, it was supposed, but it is not increased, so say yes. If you don't think so, then reply no. So I want quick replies from your side. So let's make this session a very competitive session. I want your replies. Sir, I'm getting a mixed bag of replies. Some of saying yes to an extent, yes, no, no, yes. But 60% I'm getting as yes replies. So I think most of the people thought that unlike, just like many other due dates, and just like what happened with the annual return and audit report in GST, the same is going to happen with the e-invoicing, but the government has other plans. Over to you, sir.
Very good afternoon to all the participants. And I think one of the very important questions being asked every time in the webinars is whether the date will be extended or not. So I think let's be more concerned about our preparedness, whether we are prepared or not. And these questions arise only when we are not prepared. So if the government is not going ahead with this deadline of 1st October and it's not extending the date, then there will be a problem for many who were expecting this to be postponed. But if it is postponed, obviously we'll get some more time. But even if we get some more time, even in that case, we should not sit idle and just think that we'll do things later on, because a lot needs to be done if we want to get e-invoice ready and if it's applicable to us. And even if it is not applicable to us, I believe many professionals are also there in the webinar for whose clients it may be applicable, or the clients it may not be applicable as of now, but in the second or the third phase it will be applicable. So the questions will already start coming from these people, and they should be at least aware of the basic things, because e-invoice is actually a technical thing, and these technical people, the software professionals, etc., they have more to do with it. But we as professionals, as chartered accountants, as company secretaries, as ICWs, we should be aware about what e-invoicing is and how we can help our clients to become e-invoice ready. And also as corporates, we should be ready so that our business does not come to a standstill on the 1st of October or whenever e-invoice comes into play if it is postponed. So first of all, to whom all it is applicable or it is mandatory, we are aware that it is applicable with effect from 1st of October for people having a turnover above 500 crores. So turnover above 500 crores should obviously be the PAN level turnover or the company level turnover we have to see for the purpose, and also turnover as per GST. Now, which year's turnover is to be seen? Initially, we all thought that they are talking about the turnover of the previous year, that is 1920. But now they have clarified in these FAQs dated 14th of September, which are there on the website of GST department. And there they have clarified that uh, uh, turnover in a financial year from 2017-18 onwards have been enabled to report invoices to the IRP. And in case a turnover taxpayer has had aggregate turnover in any financial year since introduction of GST, is mandated to report invoice to IRP. So that means whether in 17-18, 18-19, or 1920, in any of these years, your turnover exceeds the aggregate turnover of the company exceeds 500 crores. In that case, e-invoice becomes applicable. It does not matter if in 2017-18 it was more than 500 crores, then it was became less, or vice versa. So in any of the years, if it exceeds 500 crores, it means e-invoicing is applicable. And this is not the turnover as the profit and loss account. This is the turnover as per GST, meaning thereby that all your branch transfers, sale of assets. So whatever the definition of aggregate turnover in GST, you have to look to that and ensure that you, while calculating this limit of 500 crores, you include all these things in that also. This will be applicable for marginal cases only. For people who have turnover above 500 crores in the profit and loss account itself, no issues. We don't have to say anything further. Then, as you are aware that all the invoices before being given to the transporter or before given to the party will have to be uploaded at the government portal called Invoice Registration Portal. And we are talking about, as of now, first of all, the B2B invoices. All the invoices will have to be uploaded at this invoice registration portal. At the portal, these will be registered, and a unique number called invoice reference number, or IRN, as I'll be referring to it henceforth, will be given to you along with a QR code. And this QR code will be obtained from this portal, and it will be mandatory to print the QR code on the printed invoice. This is regards people having turnover above 500 crores. I'm talking about B2B invoices. Regarding B2C invoices, you can continue to issue physical invoices as you are doing now, and no data is to be uploaded at the portal. And but additionally, on the printed invoice, a QR code has to be there, and this QR code is to be self-generated by you, by your accounting system or the ERP system that you are using. This will not be given to you by the government because the government is not taking this data. This is basically for the purposes of payment, just as we use various Paytm or Beam app QR codes at different vendors when we visit these stores, etc., and we scan it. Here, additionally, it will be scanned, and even the amount will get scanned so that you don't have to punch in the amount manually. So that will be the difference. So this is the difference between B2B cases and B2C cases. B2C cases are not to be reported to the portal. There are some exemptions given by the government. These are regarding the transportation sector, goods transport, passenger transport, and multiplexes. These are exempt from e-invoicing even if the turnover exceeds the threshold. And also banking, insurance, NBFC companies, special economic zones, all these are exempt as of now. So what will be the brief process of upload? Let us see that. So first of all, the invoice will be generated from our accounting or ERP package, SAP Navision, whatever we are using. Thereafter, it will be converted in DSN format and uploaded at the government portal, invoice registration portal. There, if everything's in order, unique IRN will be generated and QR code will be generated. This will be pushed back by the department to the uh, person who is sending this invoice data. And finally, this data will go to the GST common portal and the e-web bill portal also if the necessary data is there. When we talk about invoice, we are talking about invoice, debit note, and credit note. All these three are covered. The data of all these three has to be uploaded at the government portal, and any other document as the government may specify. As of now, the government has not specified any other document besides these three documents. Then also a question arises whether for input service distributor invoices, debit notes, credit notes, whether e-invoice is applicable. That's not applicable. Earlier they said it's applicable, but in the latest FAQs they've clarified that in the case of ISD invoices, debit notes, etc., e-invoice is not applicable. So you can continue issuing paper invoices in such cases. If there are any questions, you can keep on asking in between. No issues, because I think it's more important to answer all the questions because the general awareness about invoice is now there. So it's more important to answer the actual questions. What about delivery challan, bill of supply, job work? Even they have to be uploaded at the portal. So the answer is no. They are not supposed to be uploaded at the portal. You can just issue them as physical documents as you've been doing till now. Then the schema of the e-invoice was notified by the government on 30th of July. This specified the various mandatory and the optional fields, and you may not need to go into too much of details regarding that. We as software providers, as solution providers, we go into all these technical details and do all this work for you so that you don't have to get into all these details. And government keeps on updating, changes this schema. So that is also one reason why uh, you may not like to do it directly. As I said, there are some mandatory fields like the supplier GSTN, buyer GSTN, quantity, etc. Other optional fields like phone number of the buyer, trade name of supplier, vendor PO reference, etc. These are the optional fields. Regarding the mandatory fields, quantity is a mandatory field, but in the case of it's mandatory only in the case of goods. In the case of services, it can be left blank. Then a maximum number of items which can go in the e-way bill. I think you're aware the maximum number of items is 250. But in e-invoice, they're allowing up to 1,000 items, a sufficiently large number. And I think most of us will not face any problem. But the number of items in the invoice is obviously less than 1,000. And but in the e-way bill, they'll allow only 250. So what does that mean? How it will go? What about balance 750 items? So the items which are in top value, the costliest 250 items will go in the e-way bill, and remaining you may not show in the e-way bill. Even the present practice is that the 250 most valuable items in the invoice go in the e-way bill. So no issues with that. This is the JSON format in which the e-invoice will be uploaded. This is the same format in which your GST returns, GSTR1, etc. are being uploaded, or the e-way bill is also uploaded. Now, since it's so important that the data be uploaded at a proper time, not much time lag should be there, because we'll not be able to transport the material before uploading the data of the invoice at the portal. So that is why the government is coming out, or rather will come out with 10 portals like these. And first portal is already been launched by the government. And this is a screenshot of the same. Various options are available at this portal. It shows the number of invoice generated yesterday, during this month. Similarly, those cancelled, etc. All this information is available at the portal. Those of you who have done the testing or even have already gone live must be aware about all these things. Once the data is being uploaded to the portal, so they will be checking various things, like the important ones being the unique invoice number, the GSTN of the seller, and the GSTN of the buyer. They should be valid GSTNs, active GSTNs, and the invoice registration portal will reject any wrong, deleted, or cancelled GSTNs. Then at the portal, what else will take place? The data validation will take place, whether all the mandatory fields are there or not, and the data is correctly given or not. Once that is done, the invoice will be registered, and an invoice reference number will be generated. A QR code will also be generated, and that will complete the process at the site. And remember that no registration will take place without all the mandatory fields being there in the e-invoice. So that's a important thing to note. Then when we send a request for IRN generation, what all will happen? Our request for IRN is made to the invoice system, and there what all do we get? We get an invoice reference number, or the IRN, e-way bill number if applicable, because in the case of services it may not be applicable. In the case of you have not given the necessary information about the e-way bill, then also e-way bill number will not be generated, and it will not be generated. In the signed QR code and the signed invoice, all these four things will be there if the entire data is properly given in the e-invoice JSON uploaded by you. And simultaneously, few other things will happen. Simultaneously, the data will be uploaded at the e-way bill portal if necessary data is provided. Updation of GSTR1 of the supplier, and updation of GSTR2A and 2B now of the buyer. All these things will also happen simultaneously. Now, you might ask, what is the basis of IRN? How it is being computed? So, IRN is based on the GSTN of the supplier, the financial year, document type, whether it is invoice, credit note, debit note, and the document number, let's say the invoice number or the credit note or the debit note number. All these will be taken together, and a computerized process will take place of hashing, and thereafter a 64-digit unique alphanumeric number will be generated, something like this. How many of you will like to enter this number, memorize this number, or copy this number and like to paste it in your ERPs? Just let me know. Are we getting it in the responses on the chat box? So obviously it's not easy, and that is why we need the help of technology, which will help us in storing this in our ERP, because that's important. Once the ERP has this invoice reference number, we will know that invoice has been generated for this particular invoice, and nothing more needs to be done. We'll get a signed JSON, which will be in an encrypted form, and this will be decrypted using the various tools or even the mobile app that the government is providing. And it will be digitally signed by the government, and you cannot make any changes once you've got this JSON from the government. Not even a small decimal or exclamation mark or full stop can be put in, because that will invalidate this invoice. And we have a facility on the website E-Invoice portal to verify these signed invoices. We can upload the JSON format and see whether this is a proper E-Invoice or not. Once we check, we can see this how it will be verified by the portal that this is indeed a valid invoice, and a proper invoice will be displayed in front of us. Also, there is a QR code which is being provided by the government in return to us, and this is how the QR code will look like. And it will be made up of the unique invoice reference number, the important invoice data, and the digital signature. It is a proof of receipt of invoice at the IRP and acceptance by the IRP. What all it will contain. This is the signed QR code. It will look like this, again in an encrypted form. It can also be decrypted. Now you can see the seller GSTIN, buyer GSTIN, the invoice number, etc. This one can be read once it is decrypted. And this QR code is made up of all these things: GSTIN of the buyer, GSTIN of the seller, invoice number, invoice date, invoice value, that is the taxable value and the gross tax, number of items, and HSN of the costliest item or the most valuable item, and the invoice reference number. All these things together constitute the QR code. And this QR code can also be verified using a mobile app that the government allows you to download. The link, etc., the process is at the GST portal of E-Invoice. From there, you can get a message, and from there, you can download the E-Invoice. And it can be verified like this, similar process as in the case of the portal also. And this data at the invoice registration portal will remain at the portal at any of these 10 portals where it is uploaded only up to 24 hours. Thereafter, it will be moved to a central registry. Data from all of these portals, all these 10 portals will be moved to the central registry after 24 hours. Question arises, there may be mistakes, there may be errors, there may be omissions in the bills, in the debit notes and the credit notes. So what is to be done? So e-invoice amendment, whether it is allowed or not. So the answer is, at the invoice registration portal, no amendment is allowed. You cannot do any changes at the invoice registration portal. If any of these changes have to be done, they have to be done at the GST common portal in the usual way. As you are aware, yeah.
Rajeev, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
I have a few questions coming our way.
Okay.
So can I take them?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, one of the question is, invoice PDF need to be signed again by the supplier.
We'll take it at the end.
Okay. And sir, one is related. Present app of reading QR code is giving error.
They're coming out with new versions. They've already yesterday and day before yesterday they have come out with new versions. Doesn't matter. In due course, these things will be ready and you'll be able to read those. No issues with that.
Right. So someone is asking about how to generate JSON from Tally software.
So we are giving that facility also. As you might be aware, that Tally directly is not giving this facility as of now, because generally most of the customers are below 500 crores and it may not be applicable to them. But some of the customers are still using Tally, whose maybe volume is small but the amount is big. So for those cases, there is integration facility, and Webtel is also offering that integration facility. And in the end, I'll also show a practical demonstration of how IRN can be generated, E-Invoice can be generated in the case of SAP also, and an online facility that we've recently launched. You can use that also, and Tally also you can use. So these separate facilities, add-on facilities are there through which you can generate IRN and generate E-Invoice. Anything else, Shum?
Yes, sir. I'll take one last question, sir. Again, it is in regards to the confusion between whether my turnover is below 5 CR, so invoice can be used or not.
On a voluntary basis or not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Below 500 crores as of now, because the government does not want to make a mess there at the GST invoice portal. They don't want things to crash like the way they did in the case of e-Waybill. That is why they have started in a phased manner, and they have they'll initially allow only people having turnover above 500 crores. Even voluntarily, those having a turnover below 500 crores will not be allowed in the first instance. But once things stabilize, then on a voluntary basis, initially, I think they'll allow for people having a lower threshold turnover, and thereafter it will be made mandatory for them. And let me tell you, in due course, it will be mandatory for everybody. For the smallest of the vendors, smallest of the
Right,
GST registrations, it will become mandatory.
right, sir. Sir, I think we can proceed. We'll take the questions in a
Yeah.
minute. Yeah.
So I was telling that any amendment, as you are aware, that first of the invoice data will be uploaded at the portal, invoice registration portal, and from there the data will go to the GST common portal, will rest at your GSTR1 data, and there, as you could before filing the return, delete some invoices, make changes, etc., that you can still do as you were doing earlier. So regarding time limit, how the changes can be done, again very important. Let us see. Regarding cancellation, we can do either we can do the cancellation or we can do the amendment. Cancellation is possible at the invoice registration portal up to 24 hours. I think that's quite reasonable because the data will be there at the portal only for 24 hours. If the data is not available, then how you can cancel that? So only up to 24 hours, you can cancel the data of the invoice at the invoice registration portal. From 24 hours till filing of the return, you can do this cancellation or delete this invoices, some of the invoices at the GST common portal as you've been doing till now. No issues with that. And after filing of the return, obviously you are aware that amendments can be done in the subsequent period returns. So again, the same process that you've been following till now. So up to 24 hours at the portal, from 24 hours to filing of the return, invoices can be deleted from the GST common portal. And after filing of the return, amendments can be made in subsequent period returns. E-invoice can be cancelled using the either the IRN or the acknowledgement number. Either way, we can cancel those. These are things I'm just telling you, but otherwise, once the integrated solution, the seamless solution that Webtel is providing, once you get your hands on that, it's all the things are more or less automatic, and you don't need to think about, and you don't need to go to the site or understand so many other technical things. It's just a free flow of the data, as it were. So it can be cancelled. I'll just show you in the demo also. So, but if the e-Waybill has been generated, then you cannot cancel the IRN. So if you want to cancel the e-invoice and the 24 hours is still there after generation, so first e-Waybill has to be cancelled, then IRN can be cancelled. It's not the other way around. Regarding e-Waybill, again, many questions come whether still e-Waybill is mandatory for the transporter to carry. Obviously, it's still mandatory, no change in that. So the transporter must carry the invoice and also the e-Waybill as he's doing now, no change in that.
I think this is a very important point to note down. I've been receiving queries, lot of queries regarding e-Waybill.
Yeah. Another question which is there is now the government is allowing you to put in the entire data in the e-invoice so that both your part A and part B can be generated from the e-invoice data itself. So you have the option, you may generate part A, you may generate Part A and Part B, or you may not generate e-way bill at all. So it is up to you. But generally, we advise that Part A is okay. You give the transporter ID and Part A can be generated. But Part B, since once Part B is generated, your time for transportation starts. And if there's any delay or time lag at your end, or due to any issues with the transporter, then you lose the precious time. So it is advisable that you put in the transporter ID, etc., so that part A is generated. Part B, normal way which you are generating at the portal or using Webtel facilities, APIs for generation of Part B of the e-way bill, you can continue using that. But if your transport is ready, your truck is identified, and you have sufficient time, then entire information can be put in the e-invoice also. So theoretically, that is possible. Now, another important thing with validity of IRN. So, if we generate many invoices and keep on transporting material day after day, that's allowed, first of all. But it's not forever. You get only 30 days time. Once you generate the invoice, once you generate IRN, then this IRN is valid only till 30 days. And after the expiry of 30 days, this IRN or the invoice reference number is cancelled automatically. Thereafter, you cannot use this e-invoice for transporting the material. A fresh invoice has to be generated. So please remember that. Regarding printing, again, printing is possible using our various facilities that we are giving. I'll show you practically also how it's generated. This is how the e-invoice format in the printed format will look like. Again, it can be generated based on the acknowledgement number or the invoice reference number. Now, many times people ask regarding logos on e-invoice. As in the paper invoice also, we are affixing our logos or it's printed there. So the logo cannot go in the e-invoice format which you are uploaded at the portal. But when you download the data and print this data on your physical document or the PDF document, you're allowed to attach your logo. So that's okay. The government does not stop you from doing that. Another important information is the Rule 48, Sub-Rule 5, which says that every invoice issued by a person to whom Sub-Rule 4 applies, that is the notified persons above 500 crores as of now, in any manner other than the manner specified in the said Sub-Rule, shall not be treated as an invoice. You understand the significance, the import of this rule. So if a person who is supposed to issue an e-invoice does not issue an e-invoice, issues a paper invoice, issues a PDF invoice without affixing the QR code on that, this invoice shall not be treated as an invoice. It will be void ab initio. An invoice without an invoice reference number will not be an invoice. What are the implications of this? Yes, anybody on the chat? Quick response from the people. So if in invoice reference number of the QR code is not there on the invoice that you issue to the party or to the transporter, what will happen? Shubham, can you read out the responses?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Very important consequences. So what
So
are the
time limit to upload invoice return portal?
What's that?
Sir, penalty.
Penalty. What kind of penalty?
Sir, monetary.
What is the amount?
Sir, 10,000. Someone is saying 10,000.
Okay. What else?
Will not be considered as sale.
Okay. Then, okay, let us go ahead.
Supply without GST.
So let us see what will be the consequences, the penalty, etc. Let us see. Seizure of vehicle and goods. Since it will be deemed as if it is not carrying an invoice and a e-way bill, the government officials will have all the rights to seize the vehicle and goods and thereby disruption of supply chain. your party may be waiting for the goods. It may be so important for him. If the perishable goods are there, or some machinery part is being transported, and his machinery is at standstill, you just can just imagine what will happen. So first of all, the goods can be seized, and obviously the penalty will be levied, and many times the harassment is also there, because many times we are ready to even pay the penalty, but even then the government officials are not that supportive, they're not that cooperative that they release the vehicle. So all those issues will come, and obviously the penalty is there. For that, the penalty, we should look to section 122 subsection 1, that where a taxable person who supplies any goods or services or both without issue of any invoice. So it is as good as that you have not issued any invoice. You may have issued a paper invoice. It may look like an invoice, लगेगी इनवॉइस जैसी, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट उसको इनवॉइस नहीं मानेगी. द गवर्नमेंट officials will not consider that as an invoice. They will say it is just a piece of paper which can be thrown in the dustbin and nothing more than that. So he shall be liable to pay a penalty of rupees 10,000 or an amount equivalent to the tax evaded, whichever is higher. तो अगर यहाँ if it is being proved that you are trying to evade, because they say that you've just made a paper invoice, and if the material was not caught, you would never have shown it in your record. So if they can prove that you have been trying to evade the tax, then in that case, even the amount of tax, if the amount of tax is, let's say, 5 lakh rupees, so a penalty of up to 5 lakh rupees will be there. And the minimum penalty is rupees 20,000, not 10,000, 20,000, because we are talking about both acts. We have twin acts of CGST and SGST. So minimum penalty will be 20,000. Maximum penalty will be the amount of tax. Amount of tax may be 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever it is. So whatever the tax amount is there, so up to that the penalty can be. So such reaching consequences of this. So we should be pretty careful as far as e-invoice is concerned. And some people may say you may give the physical invoice to the transporter, thereafter we will generate invoice. Nothing doing. You cannot do that. If you try and do that, it will be as good as sending the material without an invoice, and all these consequences will follow.
Sir, one question is, how come one can come to know if the taxpayer was required to generate invoice but issued paper invoice? Who would be responsible for the same?
Yeah, I'll just in the
Yeah.
later part, I'll just show you how that is to be seen.
Right.
So seizure of the materials in the vehicle can take place. This monetary penalty will be there, and also the person who is purchasing, the poor person, because of no fault of his, he will be losing the valuable input tax credit. Because one of the important conditions of claiming ITC is that you should have a valid invoice. If it is not an invoice, then how you can claim the ITC? So obviously, from your point of view, there will be seizure of the vehicle, material, monetary penalty, and again monetary penalty. It is as good as a monetary penalty for the purchaser also, because he will not get input tax credit on that same. And from there flows another thing, that you should not be just bothered about your preparedness, your readiness. You should be careful. You should know about your vendors also. The people from you whom you are purchasing material, even they should be ready. If they are 500 crores or more, you should ensure that you are getting e-invoices from them. Otherwise, you will not get the ITC. So the government somehow is letting you, both the parties take care of each other, so that the government does not have to bother much. And also, when we talk about e-invoicing and readiness about that, I generally say that e-way bill, again, there is some penalty. Filing of returns, it may be, sometimes it may be late. Many times the due dates are extended, etc. BSTR 1, 3B, the fees is reduced for a very long. Even for 3 years, you can upload after 3 years with just a penalty or late fees of 500 rupees. But when we are talking about e-invoice, just imagine, even for one day, you are not able to dispatch your material because you are not e-invoice ready, because there are some issues with the ERP. The ERP is not able to generate invoices. Will you be in a position to tell your bosses that, sir, for this 1 day or 2 days, or for 1 week, let us stop all the dispatches because we cannot generate? Your bosses may say, use the physical invoice. you have to tell them that physical invoice is as good as issuing no invoice. So that's not possible. So obviously we cannot get into such a situation. Our business continuity will be at stake. Important parts which have to be obtained by the buyers, if they do not get in time, they may shift to another vendor, and so many other things will happen. So we cannot afford to let such a situation come to reality. And also, this is very important data of your clients, of the material that you are selling, the price at which you are selling, and all the discounts you are offering to your parties. It is very important data, and you should be concerned with the data security of this data. This is just not any normal data. This is important confidential business data, which if one of your competitors or some hacker gets this data, then he can play havoc with it. So you must be concerned with the data security, and you must choose some GSP which is offering you complete data security so that your data is not at peril. And as I said, for even people below the threshold, they should also start preparing right away, because we do not have much time. And various changes also have to be done in the ERP or the accounting packages, and various technical things like invoice number should not start with zero, slash, etc. This we are taking care of all these things. And regarding the knowing how the vendor is ready or not, we can check at the website at the E-Invoice portal. There is a facility of registration. You can put in the other person's GST number also, and you will know whether he is invoice ready or not, or whether he's it is applicable to him or not. So that can be seen for yourself also and for other people also. And also you can register at the portal if by chance it's applicable to you, but you have not been registered by the government. So you can yourself register at the portal. Then besides that, there are many operational issues also, like uh, which invoice will you be issuing, the physical invoice or the e-invoice or both? Again, that may be the government does not specify anything. For them, even e-invoice is sufficient, but your buyer may be needing a physical invoice also. So you have to decide which invoices to be issued to which party. It can be different for different parties. If it's a physical invoice, what will be the number of copies? I think the transporter will still need a physical copy. You might need at least for some time for your own records. Also, the buyer may say he also needs one copy. One logistics department may keep a separate copy. So all these things are internal. The government is not saying anything. It's up to you, the number of physical copies that you have to keep. But at least you have to decide. You have to give these instructions, the customizations in the systems or the ERPs, that we need these many number of copies. Then also whether for B2B series and B2C series, whether we will have separate series for physical invoices and e-invoices, or we will continue with one series. The government again does not specify anything, but operationally, I think practically it will make good sense if we have separate series for B2B and B2C, so that we can distinguish the invoices for which the e-invoice has been generated and for those which have not been generated. Also signing, whether the digitally signed is necessary, whether physical signature we are affected. Then there was a question whether signing is necessary. See, if you are issuing only an e-invoice and the government says that it may not contain any digital signature, etc., because but still I have my doubts on that, because as an issuer, you have your responsibility to sign that. But still, in the case of e-invoice, because even in the law they've made amendment that if it's an e-invoice, then you can send the e-invoice without digitally signing yourself, or the digital signature should be before sending the data at the invoice registration portal. Subsequently, when you receive back, you cannot sign that e-invoice. So, but when you are issuing a physical invoice, a PDF invoice to the party, in that case, either your physical signature should be there or your digital signature should be there. So obviously, if the number of invoices is large, in that case, you have to have the facility of digital signatures. And Webtel is already offering this solution also, whereby at a click of a button, all the invoices can be signed, digitally signed. And that facility is there, and many corporates are already using that. So that was about the important issues in e-invoicing. And I'd also like to show you a practical demonstration of SAP, how integration can be done there. and also an online utility we have developed for you people. And thereafter, we will move on to the FAQ section where you can ask your queries. So I think first of all, let us see the online utility that we have developed. So this is the online utility that we have developed for you. And here we have provided a dashboard, and there we have various facilities of corporate, of user, etc., and various facilities whereby we can create masters. Initially, you must understand that whenever we are using a facility, software utility, we have to have our masters ready. So either if there are some few masters of units, of parties, etc., we can do that manually. But if the number of masters is huge, units, and the number of items that we sell, the services we provide, we have these Excel templates whereby you can import the data and upload it to this portal, and thereafter start using these when you start generation of e-invoice. So all those masters, etc., can be created one by one or in one go using the Excel templates. Once we are ready with that, then we can go and move on to the main mode. There we will go to this option of invoice entry, and here various facilities are there. We can punch in the data. If the number of items, the invoices is very small, then we can even punch in these items, because this was as per the request from people, that some people said we want just some entries whereby we can punch in the data because the number of entries is not large. So here you can punch in the main details of the invoice. You can select your GSTN of the party, like this, and the seller GSTN details will come once you select that, because even that can be multiple. A party may have several GSTN in several states. In that case, you can select. Otherwise, if it's one seller, you can select that. Then we can select other information. We can punch in the necessary information, the bill number, etc. And other information we can punch in like this. And we can select the party for which the invoice is to be issued like this. And the necessary GSTN, the address details, etc. will come like this. And then we can move on to the next item. That is the item details or the product details. Here again, we can select the necessary items that we wish to sell in this invoice, like this, and some more details if need be. HSN, etc., will already come by itself because it was there in the item master. Quantity I can punch like this. If there's any free quantity I can punch, and the unit, etc., is already coming. IGST rate is automatically coming because that is captured in the master. Other details. If there are multiple items, we can keep on adding items one by one like this. We can check the invoice, total invoice value, etc. And once we are comfortable, we can move ahead. And there may be other details, etc., which might have to be given. We can punch those also. We'll go to next. If they're not there, we can save it here itself. If there are no more details to be given, and if they are there, we can go to additional details, punch in the payment details, reference details, etc. If there are any, we can do that. The transaction details we can punch in, and finally save the data. And now it will ask whether you want to generate invoice. I'll say yes. Click on this icon, and this can be a single invoice or multiple invoices also can generate at one click. We have this option. We can select the checkbox. The ones we have selected, invoice will be generated for those. I'll click generate invoice, and here we will get this option. And since it's been already generated, we will get an error message that it's a duplicate IRN. So I've done for a new one, and it's been generated successfully. The 64-digit IRN is there, as you can see. It's been generated. It's a unique number. This invoice has been uploaded for the first time, and it has been properly uploaded. That is why this IRN has been generated. And there's a print facility also, which we can use to take a printout of this, because many of the parties will be needing the printout also. So this is how the printout will look like with the QR code, and you can even scan this QR code if you want. Let me stop it here. You can even scan this QR code. It will be in a encrypted form. You can use your scanners in your mobile phones to scan this, but it will be in an encrypted form. It will be decrypted using the government app that the government has given. Other things you can check whether all the necessary information is there or not.
Sir, I want
This
to.
is how the e-invoice will look like. And IRN is being provided, but it's optional. But QR code is mandatory. So please ensure that this QR code is there on the invoice, because without this, the e-invoice will not be an invoice.
Sir, through the government app, I have scanned this,
So
and
this was the
following details.
online utility that we have provided for you, and you can check it. You can take a printout. You can send a PDF document to the person. And also, before doing that, before generating, if you have imported some data and there are some mistakes, etc., you can also modify that data before uploading it. Once it has been uploaded in the portal, you cannot modify the data. But once you have imported or you punched in the data and later on you find out some mistake, that you can modify there before uploading it to the portal. And that option is also being provided just to add some practical angle to that. And also we can import the invoices in bulk. You may not like to punch so many invoices. If you have a number of invoices, in that case we have this download template facility available, whereby this Excel template will open and you can copy paste the data here, which you have must be generated from your ERP or the accounting software. Copy the data in this format and then upload this at the portal. Once the data is there, you can upload it at the portal by clicking this select option, and at one go, hundreds and thousands of invoices can be uploaded. Obviously, there's no need to run so many invoices. Portal is this utility that Webtel is providing for you. And also, there's a cancel e-invoice facility also we are providing. You don't need to go to the government portal. From here itself, you can cancel the invoice, and the watermark of cancel invoice will appear in the printout PDF. So this is how we are. These are the basic facilities. Besides that, you can create various users, give them assigned rights, etc. You have this facility of checking the invoice status also, whereby you can see the status of various invoices, whether invoice has been generated, whether error has been generated, whether whether how many were cancelled. All this information is available, and you can even export that information to Excel. All these facilities are there for you. And for the paucity of time, I'll stop here itself. And that was regarding the demo I wanted to give you. And if you wish, I can also provided. Uh, Shubham, I think I can give a 5 minutes demo of
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
SAP
For sure,
also,
sir.
if people want.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I request you to kindly say yes if you want to see a direct live integration.
5 minutes, we'll have a SAP demo
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
how things will
Sir,
happen
sir,
there.
I have a couple of questions. Can we take it now?
So this is the screen. Is it visible?
No, sir. No, sir. You have to share it, sir. Once. Sir, you have to share the screen.
My screen is visible.
No, sir. Hello? Sir, am I audible?
Okay, so we will begin. So this is how the screen will look like. And
Sir, Rajeev, sir, your screen is not visible. Can you share it once again?
this my screen is visible? I'm doing it again. Just a minute. Not there. Share.
Have a small technical glitch. Until then, if you have any queries, think, the topics covered, you can ask chat section. I have collected a lot of queries, and we'll be taking it after.
Just a minute, I'm sharing the screen. There
Yeah,
was some
yeah,
technical problem.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Yes, sir.
starting that again. I think now you can see the screen.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely, yes.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Now it's visible, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we have logged into the system, and this is the dashboard. And here, either we can go to the dashboard and see the various information, or generate IRN directly. So both options are available. So let us first try and check the information, because initially we are a little bothered that there may be mistakes, etc. So let us go to the dashboard, and we can select the relevant billing date. From this date to this date we need the invoices, or various plans, etc. All this information is available. And on the left hand side, you can see the IRN generated information, or the cancelled or pending information is there. For the top ones, it's already been generated. And we will generate for 76 number and 77 number. Let us try and generate. Select these invoices, and we can further go down and see the information first of all, whether the invoice is correct or not. Thereafter, once we are comfortable, we will select these invoices one by one, 76 number invoice and 77 number invoice, and we will generate invoice reference number for them, generate IRN facilities there in SAP. And as you can see, 76 number IRN has been generated, but in 77 some error is there. So one is generated, and the other one some error is there. Let us see what is the problem there. Error case, it says that IGST amount is not given and HSN code is not valid. So all these checks have also to be built in. And let us first see the printout, how it will look like of the one which has been generated successfully. This is how it will look like. And once it is there, we can save it, we can send it to the party. And regarding the error one, also we can see that this kind of error is there, and we can check and we can correct that error. HSN we can correct, the IGST amount we can put in is 0, whether the rate is 28%. So we'll make all these corrections, and thereafter we will generate it once again. But before that, let us also see the facility of cancellation. Let's see how it is to be cancelled. So it's there, the proper invoice is there generated. Now let us try to cancel this invoice. This cancel IRN facility we will use, this API we will use, and when we try to cancel, it will ask us some information why you want to cancel it, whether it is a duplicate entry or what it is. We'll select one of those options, and we'll give some information which will save for us in the remarks field. And once that is done, thereafter we can use this cancel IRN facility to cancel this invoice. We will select this and use cancel IRN facility, and it will be cancelled. And how it will look like, let us see the PDF. There will be a watermark of cancel on it, as you can see here. And you cannot use this cancelled invoice or e-invoice. It's cancelled, it is void, should not be used.
Some of the
In
participants.
the various errors, etc., can be rectified, and we can generate a fresh invoice for the ones which are there, and also the various other facilities from the same T-code, you can check the data, the various conditions, etc. So all these things are there. So the basic things we have covered here, and this is how the seamless process in the case of SAP is also there. So I've shown you that. And now if there are any queries, we can take those queries also. And
A few of the participants are requesting for the tally.
Shivam, do we have any queries?
Yes, sir. I have a lot of queries. Can you?
Tally, I think demonstration, we have already had 2 demonstrations and already it's 5 p.m. A very similar process is there. So I think let me keep it for the next webinar. There I'll show you how, and in earlier webinars also I've shown how work is being done in Tally. So that is there.
So the people who are interested in
time is now for some questions.
Yeah. So they can contact us at the phone number which is displayed on your screen. So our team will be more than happy to help you. And meanwhile, you can also scan this QR code for inquiring about our utility, our online utility, or our integration for e-invoice generation.
And specifically, if somebody wants for Tally, he can also request for a demonstration. Our team will provide the demo too.
Right, sir. Sir, first question being how to upload in bulk quantity different types of list of items, vendor details, product, HSN, etc.
We have different templates for those. Different templates are there. They are just like Excel files. You can most probably you'll be having the data in Excel format already, or some text format. You can copy paste that data in the Excel file and use the upload facility which we are providing, and from there the data will be imported and it will be displayed as if it is being punched at the portal itself.
Right,
that is how it will be done.
Sir, Devki ji is asking again, TCS will also be deducted from 1st October. Which column will it be uploaded? There is no field for the same.
Yeah, as of now, the government has not provided any field for that. But as a interim measure, you can put it in other charges. You can put TCS in other charges, and that's how you can handle that.
Sir, how to generate dynamic QR code for B2C sales?
Again, that is something technical, which our technical team will help you do that. You and I personally cannot do that. The technical team, the software provider team, that will help you generate from your ERP or whatever package you are using.
Right. Sir, one question is very interesting related to digital signature. In case of e-invoice, the document should be signed by authorized signatory. Could you help with whose DSC would be used for signing the e-invoice?
Again,
which is registered on GST portal, or the same person like accounts head?
That's actually not a question relevant to e-invoice. That's a normal question which was applicable even for invoice.
Right.
But there also it was valid, and here also it is valid. They are not so strict about these things that only the person who is there as authorized signatory at the portal. But probably I think what you can do is you can pass a special a resolution, a board resolution authorizing the persons who will be signing or using the digital signatures for issuing invoices. And if they ever ask you, then you can tell them, see, these are the authorized persons. Or if you are still not comfortable with that, you can use the digital signature of the person who is authorized at the portal also. So either way you can do.
Sir, someone is asking about the case of bill to ship to supply.
What specifically in that? Invoice covers all these cases also. There is all the fields, necessary fields are there for if it's a bill to ship to case or it's a normal case. All the fields are there. You need to fill the data, and e-invoice will be generated. Nothing specific to be done in the case of e-invoice, because in any case, e-invoice is an invoice only. It is only the data which is being transmitted electronically. Otherwise, as what you were doing till now, you have to do similar thing. Earlier, it was in a paper format or a PDF format. Now it will be in electronic format. Nothing new has happened in the case of a bill to ship case.
Right, sir. Sir, again, I've got a few more questions related to QR code generation for B2C suppliers. As sir already mentioned, please come to our contact. This is a technical related thing, and our technical team will explain you how this can be done. Sir, can you put a bit of light on supply of services?
Supply of services, what somebody wants to know?
Yes, sir.
No, this limit of 500 crores includes goods, services, everything. So when we have to calculate this limit, we have to consider all the services being rendered by us, all the goods being sold by us. So this limit is inclusive of all these things. And besides that, as I already said, it includes even branch transfers. It includes sale of assets, because generally when we see the profit and loss account turnover, it includes only the profit portion of the asset sold or the loss portion. But when we calculate turnover for this purpose, we have to include the value of item which has been sold, the sale value. If an item has been sold for 1 lakh rupees, 1 lakh has to be added to the turnover. And say, let's say if a profit was 10,000 was there, so that has to be removed. So all these things will constitute the turnover.
Right, sir. Sir, I think I've covered most of the questions. Rest are not relevant. So,
Okay,
sir,
let me have a look at the questions.
yeah. So one question is, sir, I've read it multiple times. So the question is about how do the buyer get to know whether the issuing person should issue an invoice or a regular invoice?
That option, as I told you, it's available at the einvoice.gov.in portal, whereby you can go and there is a facility whereby you can check yourself also whether you have been entitled to issue invoices or not, or you can put in the GST of your party also, GST of your party. From there, you will be able to know that whether he has been enabled or not. So that facility is there.
And sir, does interest rate of stock transfer is calculated in this turnover?
Several times I've told you, even stock transfers to our branches in other states, even that is to be included.
Sir,
Then there's a question from Kishan Kabra that turnover is more than 500 crores, but 99% items are nil rated items. Whether, again, Kabra ji, you have to look to the definition of turnover uh, uh, as per GST, and it says it includes nil rated items also. So even those have to be considered. And if 99% items are there which are nil rated, but some are there which are taxable. So even that case turnover is more than 500 crores. The seller, Pooja Mehta has asked whether how the seller will get to know whether purchaser falls under greater than 500 category. Again, as I said, at einvoice.gov.in portal, you can go and there you can check whether your vendors are enabled or they are mandated for this invoice or not.
right, sir. Sir, I think we have taken all the questions and it was a very insightful sessions. And I think most of the people are ready for invoices. Just in case you haven't finalized your vendor yet, the Webtel is the solution that you choose, because we are providing, installation as fast as light. So we're providing good installation services along with, competitive costs for that. So don't hesitate to call us and book your demo, because as sir already mentioned, on 1st of October, if you don't have an invoice, your invoice, you won't be able to work as you used to. So you can't stop generating your invoices, and the paper invoice is not going to be valid from 1st of October. Sir, thank you so much for today's session. I think we did it, we decided to do this session inside 40 hours, and we got a very good response from the participants, and half of the participants are having turnover more than 500 crores. So again, this shows that people were still expecting the date to get extended, but that was not the case.
Okay, finally, there's another question. Let me take that also.
Yeah.
Is QR code mandatory for exempt items also? There is no specific exemption for these exempt items. So even in for B2C cases where the turnover is more than 500 crores, this QR code for B2C is necessary. And with that, I'd like to end. And I'm sure you want to have your voice beyond 1st of October. So if you want to continue to have your voice after 1st of October or on the 1st of October, so get ready for E-Invoice. Otherwise, probably you'll lose your voice also. Thank you so much for having me as a speaker, and also patiently hearing to all what I had to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Request all the participants to go to YouTube and subscribe our channel. This recording of this webinar will be available there. So kindly do share with all your colleagues and friends. So with this, I would like to sign off on behalf of Webtel.
Thank you.